Well, some big shifts in the political race for the presidency, according to new polling. A fellow political outsider is closing in on Donald Trump in one key early voting state. The Fox News political insiders are getting mic'd up at home base, and we know you like to rock two screens at once, your TV and your mobile device. Well, while you're watching us here on TV, fire us up on Fox News social media, our pages Facebook and Twitter. Stay close. New polling in the key state of New Hampshire is signaling some big shifts in the race for the White House 2016. Donald Trump with 21% of the vote if the GOP primary were held today in that state. That's down from 28 points a month ago. Carly Fiorina just 5 points behind that with 16%. Senator Marco Rubio and Dr. Ben Carson tied with 10% each. On the Democratic side now, Senator Bernie Sanders leading with 48%. Now remember, New Hampshire is right next door to his home state, Vermont. Hillary Clinton trailing with 39%. That's a big gap. The Fox News political insiders are here, and you can join the conversation on Facebook and Twitter. Pat Goodell, a former pollster for President Jimmy Carter and Fox News contributor. And I know you are aware they are getting some rain down there in South Carolina, so our prayers to all of those there. Doug Schoen, former pollster for President Bill Clinton and a Fox News contributor as well. And here on set with me, home base, John LeBoutelier, former Republican congressman for New York. Let's start with Donald Trump, still leading the pack.
Yeah, and I think Trump has been watching political insiders because he unveiled a tax plan last week, which he now talks about in interviews and on the stump. And it's what a candidate needs to do. He needs to move a little bit now into more substance, and it will solidify his lead as the front runner, which he still is, even though the media is trying to say, he's losing support.
Well, you know what's really interesting, and I've heard you, all three of you have said this. Look, when you sit out front for a while, you're going to have some ebbs and flows because people are going for you. But he's doing exactly, Doug, what I've heard you say that Hillary needed to do through the email scandal and everything else, and that is stick on point with your plan.
Oh, boy, is that true. He also made it clear on Syria that he does not want and will send back any refugees, whether you agree or disagree. He's been clear and unambiguous. And I think the other thing that we've commented about remains the case. The New Hampshire numbers bear it out. The outsider candidates are getting at least 45 to 50% of the vote. There still is an insider primary, and there's nobody who's emerged. There's been some evidence that Marco Rubio's moving up, but it's very, very small. Right now, the outsiders continue to dominate, given Fiorina and Trump, who's in the lead, of course.
Now, all right. Pat, can we talk about kind of the people that we thought might be someplace different, like a Jeb Bush with all of the money and the backing that he has and the family name, so on and so forth? He came up a tiny bit in this poll, but he's still struggling. Why do you think that is?
Yeah, well, he is spending more money than everybody combined. I mean, millions right now, trying to push himself up. And we're going to find out whether TV works. The other candidates have not. Rubio, as I've always believed, has been the dark horse. But meanwhile, as Doug said, the insider's primary goes on, dominates. And what I find interesting, despite the writings of the Washington Post chief political reporter today, who said those all three don't matter, back to the insiders, is that what was for we will see for Hillary, what was a minor, not to be made much of, 2-point drop for Bernie Sanders in New Hampshire, for Trump is the end of the world. The media has a narrative here. They've never figured him out or figured out what's going on, and they are desperate to see to grapple for any sign. And even if Trump were to go, we would get another outsider.
Colleen Whitman writes on Twitter, who is Trump's biggest threat, Rubio or Fiorina? What are your thoughts?
I think Fiorina, actually. I think she's the hottest one since the second debate. She did well in the debate. I think that Mr. Trump needs to watch what she did in that debate and try to do the same thing. In other words, a little more rehearsed, a little more, less spontaneity, less personal invective, more meat on the bones. He needs to show that he has a command of issues, not just tap into the anger that everybody's a stupid idiot that's in Washington. We already know that. Now let's show how smart you are by telling us specifically what are you going to do.
Well, he got very detailed on the tax plan.
He did.
He drilled that down.
And as Doug said on Syria, but there's more. How about health care? What are we going to do about that?
Randy Ballet writes on Twitter as well, what ticket do Democrats fear the most, Doug Schoen, Trump/Carson, Cruz/Rubio? What are your thoughts?
I think at this point, given that Trump is not polling that well as a general election candidate, the Democrats are probably less worried about Trump. Probably the ticket that they worry about most would be Rubio-Kasich, though I think we have made it very clear, and I think the voters, more important than us, have made it clear that there's got to be an outsider on the ticket, if not at the head of the ticket. The Republican brand, as Pat and John have been saying, is really compromised, far weaker in the Wall Street Journal poll than the Democratic brand. And really what outsiders do is revive, resuscitate, and give new life and meaning to a brand that is pretty tired.
It was 29%
Right now,
positive, 37 negative in that Wall Street Journal poll for the GOP.
Yep.
Terrible numbers.
So Jason Chaffetz, though, who has put his hat in the ring for Speaker of the House now, running against Kevin McCarthy. It's interesting that you say that, because one of the things that he says he's bringing is that outsider perspective to the Speaker of the House job.
Right. Well, let me tell you, first of all, this fight that is now becoming apparent is going to come this week. This is a huge issue in everything we've talked about tonight. So it's an issue in the Democratic race, too. So why is it so important, the House Speaker, at this point? Because a lot of people are, they pushed against John Boehner as he begins to exit now. They didn't feel like he fought hard enough for some of the things that people say that they wanted a fight for. Okay, because he is the top Republican on Capitol Hill, the top elected official in the country of the Republicans, the Speaker is. If this McCarthy's debut was an unmitigated disaster for the Republican image, and it's the only good day in a year that Hillary Clinton has had, because this guy stupidly handed her a get-out-of-jail card for the Benghazi hearings at the end of October.
Do you really think it's that serious, Pat?
I think it is. I think it's one of the worst political mistakes in my lifetime.
Oh, my
this
goodness.
man is just that would discredit. I think he should be disqualified just for that. If you can't figure out that giving her, telling people, oh, our partisan hearing is what's really doing this, when Trey Gowdy has worked so hard and gotten such credibility, and then to allow her to have to back up her argument about in the media that this is a right-wing Republican plot going on Benghazi. If they didn't elect him, they all ought to be shot. This is
oh, my goodness gracious, Pat.
And it keeps getting
I know
stupider.
You mean figuratively, politically. I don't know really what that looks like.
Figuratively, yes.
But he did go on to clarify his remarks. Doug, I want to get you real quickly.
They didn't do a very good job of that.
Okay, no. we get your drift, Pat. Doug, before we go to break, just real quickly, Jason Chaffetz, there might be others who put their hats in the ring. We're getting some reports that possibly the vote for Thursday would be pushed back. Your quick thoughts.
Well, time is on the side of the opponents of Kevin McCarthy. I agree with John and Pat that it was a big, big mistake. And, you mentioned Hillary Clinton. What the numbers are now showing is that Joe Biden causes her real problems, dividing her vote, weakening her in Iowa and New Hampshire. So that story is yet to be written, too, Harris. Both are in play.
All right, sounds good. And we're in play, too, because we're coming right back. Next, we turn to foreign policy. Russia calling for the West cooperation in Syria, calling for our cooperation, us. But that could be a tall order, as many, including the United States, say Russia is just propping up Syria's president. The Fox News political insiders are coming right back. Remember, we love it when you tune in and chime in, so hit us up on our Fox News social media pages, Facebook and Twitter.